this volume, hands down, had the best art out of any volume so far. And I mean, maybe that's just because he's continuously getting better, and it very well could continue to get better for volumes 5 and 6 going forward, which, by the way, I hope is how this is going to happen. But I'm just saying, my God. Anyway, we're going to get started, but as always, I want to thank my patrons right up top before I do anything else. As always, thank you guys so much. All right, let's do this. Wait, hold on. Play a Master Edition 4. Let's get into it. That let's get into it thing kind of kills me. Pay attention next time you get on YouTube. See how many people say let's get into it. Anyway, we pick up right where we left off with Kiri talking to the giant baby face. And Santa Can facing down Sibo. And this chapter is actually going to very quickly turn into like a Sibo dominant chapter where it's pretty much just a massive battle between Sibo and Santa Can, which is fine because it's epic. And for a split second, that creepy cross-eyed girl is going to show up, you know, the one that put herself in that big thing that was stuck in the wall at the end of the last volume. She's going to show up for like half a second, and then she's going to split because she's got to go to where the central AI is. So apparently everybody's just on their way to the central AI, which is that big baby face. And now back at the central AI, Sui? Anyway, I'm calling him Sue. Sue has come back to himself, whatever that means, but he gets a whole, like, design update, and boy, is he looking good. Just look at this guy. I mean, at least for this manga, I don't know anybody that looks quite as sharp as Sue right now. Anyway, that silicone life from before basically looks at him and says, all right, let's finish this. And right then, Kiri's facing down the creepy cross-eyed girl. And essentially, at this point, we're just balls deep in the climax of essentially what was the last book. Everything that was built up in the last book, that whole Toha heavy industries and all of that, all the legwork that was done, it started actually in volume 2 and went all the way through 3. And now here we are at the beginning of 4. And it's just, we have hit the climax of what is, I don't know, the Toha Heavy Industries arc. I'm making this up as I go. But as I was saying, we're in the middle of the climax for that, and I'm here for it. Let me tell you. Now the babyface is going to tell Mensab that Toha Heavy Industries is going to forward outside of the city. And let me tell you, this guy just looks better and better every time we see him. And Mensab is going to try and connect with the babyface AI while the cross-eyed girl attempts to destroy it or something, while also Sue and the Silicone Life are fighting. Which, by the way, MVP for this entire section goes straight to Sue for when he's fighting the Silicone Life and the Silicone Life breaks his sword in half and Sue just takes the broken sword and shoves it right through his face. Coolest thing that happened this whole chapter. Possibly. I don't know, this whole chapter is cool. And actually, on second inspection of this chapter, I think the explosion might have been because Kiri shot the cross-eyed girl, not because the cross-eyed girl caused it. I don't know. Sometimes this is so hard to read. Either way, at the end of this, Kiri collapses pretty much as usual. Sibo puts all of the people from the village into a pod and shoots them off to safety, and then she collapses or something, but she's also saved by the little ugly fairies. Kiri goes up to Mensab and Sue, and they shoot him some data packets, and they forward him out to safety before the whole thing's teleported away. Right then, wherever the heck he got teleported to, a big transport crashes with Sibo in it. So now they're reunited, and she says that Mensab sent her a data packet as well, but the data packet that she got has Sue's genetic profile in it because he's a human from way long ago. So what does that mean? What does that mean for the story? What does that mean for Sue? Does Sue have the net terminal gene? We don't know. We gotta go try to find a scientific facility place that you know, Sibo can analyze the genome. Maybe we'll find it in this book. Anyway, we're going to pause real quick because I want to talk about the last section and the art. Just how amazing the art is in this book. And that whole fight and just everything about it and the whole end and the climax and just the epic scale, how grand it looks, how grand it feels. It's literally awe-inspiring, and it's just the start of what makes the art in this book so good. I mean, the whole manga's amazing, but oh my God, I feel like he literally turned it up about 5 notches from the last book to this one. It's nuts. And I think I said that from the first book to the second book, but the most noticeable jump other than the first to second book is book 3 to 4. Wow. Anyway, for the first time in a long time, we're back outside of Toha Heavy Industries, and we're back in the city, basically, that ever-expanding city, and we are now just back to wandering around the vast expanse that is this city. And it's very reminiscent of the good old days of Blam back in Volume 1, where it's that haunting, open, vast loneliness with shockingly absent safeguards for some reason. Like last time we got out in the vast expanses, you're like, oh, it's going to be lonely out here. No, it was a bombastic thrill ride because they couldn't get away from the safeguards. Every time they turned around, they were spawning around them. So I'm noticing this time that they're just weirdly absent for some reason. But anyway, we run into a bunch of, I don't know, naked girls literally from like infant babies all the way up to old women. When we find out that they're all clones of each other, then we come upon the clone machine, which is literally just set to constantly, without stopping, reproduce the same clone over and over and over. And apparently it's been doing it long enough for them to be old, withered, and dying, which is weird and messed up. It's somehow, I can't put my finger on why it's so upsetting, but it's super upsetting from the imagery just to the implications of this cycle, this process that's been set in motion here. Just for Sibo to look at it and go, who would do something like this? I mean, and it lasts about half a second before Kiri just blows the whole production line down, up, whatever. And I'm just like, thank you, Kiri. I didn't like that a bit. Not a bit. Like I said, I can't even really put my finger on why that's just so like, icky. But it's icky. Anyway, now we enter the unofficial megastructure. And Sibo warns as they enter the megastructure to look out for safeguards. So was that why they weren't being attacked by safeguards? Because they were outside of a megastructure? I really don't know. I mean, I'm assuming, but I'm really not sure. I don't know the rules of this world. I don't know if I ever will. I'm not sure anyone's supposed to know the rules of this world. I think they're kind of buried in here. And now we meet quite possibly my favorite character from the whole read, and I do not know why, but it's the elevator operator. Maybe it's just the way he looks. Maybe it's because he's oddly helpful, or at least he thinks he is. I really don't know. But every time he came onto the page, he just made me happy for some reason, and I can't really explain it. Anyway, he's going to help them find a scientific facility in order to analyze Sue's genome, which is completely on the other side of the megastructure, but it's okay because the elevator will take them there, but no one's ever used the elevator before. Don't ask. I don't know. And now we get introduced to Domachevsky, which is, I wasn't sure when I first met him. I thought he was kind of like, is he supposed to be what Kiri is? But then he's revealed to be a safeguard. But he's not like the other safeguards because this is like the unofficial megastructure and it's not connected to the other megastructures, or I'm not sure, but he is a safeguard, but he doesn't function like the other ones. He's not connected to the same systems, so he's not after the other safeguards don't function inside of this megastructure. He doesn't function as though the safeguards outside would. Something about this is unauthorized, so it's not managed in the same way. Also, he has his little like AI buddy, which I can't look at without thinking of the little AI buddies from Halo Infinite. But anyway, there is a quick fight between Domachevsky and those iRobot robots. And then there's this other guy in the fight. And by the way, the design of his suit is absolutely amazing. And speaking of amazing design, whoever this guy works for looks amazing too. Actually, this page here is where I literally stopped dead in my tracks reading this volume and was like, what the actual fuck am I looking at? This is some next level shit. This looks so good. Anyway, flash over to Kiri and Sibo, and Sibo's going to get this little bug-looking thing, parasite, that latches onto her shoulder and weaves its little tentacles inside of her body and literally paralyzes her, to the point where Kiri's going to now have to carry her out. While they're being chased through the megastructure, by the way, until they run straight into Domachevsky, who identifies Kiri as a Type 1 critical weapon, who has a damaged neuroprocessing device and whose registration code has been deleted. So how many of him were there? So he's not one of a kind. He can't be, because he wouldn't have such a specific, oh, look, it's a Type 1 critical weapon. So he's part of a line, I'm assuming, but he's also got the damaged neural processor and he has no registration code. It has been deleted. So he can function. Something about his processes don't have been damaged is an interesting word here because it sounds bad, but I don't think it is. I think it just in this sense means that it doesn't function the way as the machines would like it to, or the way it was supposed to. I don't think that necessarily means that he's functioning at an impaired level. He's functioning on another level that maybe makes him able to function in the way that he functions, outside the law, so to speak, outside of his parameters. And then combine that with the deleted registration code, so maybe they can't track him or whatnot. But all of this goes together. He is the critical weapon. The what? Type 1 critical weapon. With the damaged processor and no registration code is the trifecta that allows him to be Kiri. Maybe I'm putting too much emphasis and importance on this one line. I don't know. That's another thing I love about this manga is it allows my brain to spiral out of control, and it doesn't even try to rein me back in. It just lets me go. But they're going to have a real quick fight. And then we're going to jump back to the other group. And my God, this art is just so good, isn't it? But anyway, when we do jump back to Kiri, somehow he's been separated from Sibo and Dom and has been put back on the elevator going back towards the entrance. And did I mention that I love the elevator operator? He asks the elevator operator to let him out. He will not. He's going to take him back to the entrance. So Kiri just bails out of the elevator and starts literally climbing up the side of the structure. Now, back with Sibo and Dom. Dom has the parasite removed from Sibo's back. Then gives her a whole new outfit, which is a safeguard outfit, which is going to be important here in just a second. And now we get a whole chapter with Dom and Sibo. It's almost like Kiri's not very important in this book, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. This is still, actually, I'm super hyped on this one. Definitely not complaining. I'm just saying it's funny how many times he takes a back seat in this book. But Dom takes the data packet with Sue's genetic genome away from her and then lies to her about Kiri. The little Halo AI tells her the truth because he's programmed to tell the truth to humans, which then starts an entire chase scene between Dom and Sibo, which is actually really awesome. Dom's a pretty cool character in general, and we all love Sibo, let's be honest. But it's just sweet because he's chasing her, but he put a safeguard suit on her, and she's not supposed to be able to control a safeguard suit because she's a human. But she just spent like 10 years being trapped in a safeguard body, so she just immediately takes over this suit and starts controlling it in ways she shouldn't be capable of doing. But like I said, 10 years in a safeguard body, so apparently now she can just do things normal humans can't. So I guess the joke's on you, Dom. But anyway, yeah, it starts one of the coolest chase scenes in the whole book. But eventually Dom's going to catch up to Sibo, and right as he catches up to her, they realize that they're within range of the Silicone Life's sensory range, which then is going to trigger a really awesome fight scene between Dom, Sibo, and the Silicone Life, which is a wonderful action scene in full blam style and full blam just wonderful. The glory that is this artwork. And the whole chapter ends with just like a shot of Kiri just literally still climbing the structure. Poor Kiri. But anyway, now we're actually going to focus for a second on Kiri, and he's going to be climbing over these weird looking body things, and then he's going to get into the bowels of the structure, and he's just going to start climbing through sections of it, going down little tunnels and corridors, and standing there while a weird, freakish, stilt-legged dog walks by with a flashlight for a head. I mean, seriously, what the fuck is this thing? Anyway, as Kiri wanders through what appears to be an abandoned section of this structure, he's going to come in contact with a cloud that's made up of microscopic robots that look like almost insect-like. And they communicate with him by making shapes in the cloud like smiley faces and math. Although it does tell him that it is, when he communicates with it, it does tell him that it's connected to the admin, which is interesting because the safeguards can't function inside here, but the admin can. I don't know. But anyway, it's a part of the admin, and it gives him what appears to be a set of coordinates. And then he goes to these coordinates, and when he gets there, he finds the aftermath of the fight between Dom, Sibo, and the Silicone Life. He then comes up to a wall that scans his eyeball and opens up a door. He goes through this door into a hallway and opens up another panel and comes face to face with, I don't know. I literally have no clue what this is. Like, this is the last panel of the manga, and I don't know what I'm looking at. This is probably the most cryptic ending for one of these books that I've come across so far. Normally these last panels are like a cliffhanger for the book so far. This isn't that. This is just weird. But to be honest, I'm probably more hyped about the end of this and going into the next section than I have been at the end of any other issue so far. And that's not to say that this book, Volume 4, was necessarily better than Volumes 1, 2, and 3. I think it's more of a cumulative effect. The more and more and more I read, the further and further I get into this, the more my excitement to continue builds. The more this story just builds on itself, so I get more and more excited to get to the next section. I want to know what happens next. So I'm more excited than the last book, and I think the last book I was more excited than the last book. And like I said, it's a cumulative effect. It's probably because I just like the story so much, not necessarily this was a better volume. Because I'm not going to give this a better score. I'm going to give it the same score all the other ones have gotten, and so far, they're all a 9. Just the greatest manga ever told. Not really, but goddamn is it consistent, like super consistent in its quality, and I love it. It's great. Yeah, we're going 9 on this one again. Anyway, as always, thank you guys so very much for watching. The link for both my Discord and my Patreon are in the description, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.